And of course, human rights are worth fighting for, because there's so many places where human rights are being violated. And I think of Tibet, South Korea, so many other countries. And so often religion is part of a problem. So one of my concerns is to try and help people of faith to recognize what they have in common. My belief is that God is a God of love who loves all people. It's through Jesus Christ that I've come to know that love. But the more I've learned about other religions, the more I've realized the one God reveals himself through all the different traditions. And so one of my tasks has been try to encourage Christians to learn more about other faiths and to appreciate them and move away from the exclusivism which has happened in the past. And then from that is trying to build up relationships with other people. And one area has been Christian-Jewish work, because I'm well aware that Christian anti-Jewish teaching was one of the contributory factors to the Holocaust and so on. So that's sort of one area. Particularly this was through the Council of Christians and Jews. Another particular area is building up relations between all faiths, particularly young people. And we've had a very good program running what called parliamenters, in which people, 3 or 4 young people of different faiths, are given a project to do and mentored by a member of parliament. And the good thing is some of the members of parliament have learned something as well. And then the other concern is trying to get into religious organizations across the world really to work together in partnership. And we've got help to about 1993, a year of religious understanding. And so we've got Friends of the Peace, Parliament of Religions, and so many other bodies. What I think I particularly want to talk about, the thing I find difficult, is how in championing human rights, do we, besides having the courage to do so, to do it with hating the oppression, but not hating the oppressor. And I remember once at a meeting in Dharamsala, there are a number of Americans there trying to get the Dalai Lama to agree to a boycott, support a boycott of all Chinese products. And he replied, I could never do anything that would hurt the Chinese people. And I've just been reading the book, Book of Joy, which is a wonderful book in which Archbishop Desmond Tutu goes to visit the Dalai Lama and the long conversations that they had. And on this, the Dalai Lama said, we do not let anger and negative feelings develop towards Chinese hardliners. But in the meantime, we strongly oppose their actions. And let me give 1 or 2 examples of what I mean, because we've been remembering the end of a war in the Pacific, and it brought back vivid memories of my visit to Hiroshima. And I was shown round by a Buddhist who, at the time the bomb was dropped, was a child of 6. And of course, to describe a horrific day and not being able to get no home to go to, no parents to find. And then she talked about the numerous operations which she'd been. And as a result, she was totally committed to the search for peace. And so as we went round the memorials and so on, she shared the story without any hint of bitterness. And at the end, we came to a peace memorial. And I was conscious of the British responsibility. She was aware of the Japanese cruelty to prisoners of war. But somehow we felt that wonderful sense of a peace which passeth all understanding. And a similar incident happened recently at a meeting of the Brahma Kumaris, which was held near Oxford. And at the end, it was a meditation weekend. At the end, we were sharing our thoughts and reflections. And it so happened that there was a Vietnamese woman there who was saying she still couldn't forgive the Americans for all that had happened and what she'd suffered. And sitting next to her was an American who had actually been active service in there and in Vietnam. And somehow in that moment they met and they were reconciled.
They cried.
And they sort of cried and so on. And there are historic abuses, of course, such as the slave trade from which Britain benefited. And I think we need real honesty about what has happened. But all the protests will, I think, fail to achieve their real goal if there's not forgiveness and reconciliation. But we've got somehow to learn together, because we must protest, but we must also try to move on to build a new relationship. And I think back to the words of Jesus when Peter asked him how often he should forgive. The reply was 70 times 7. So there will be, I think, no future without forgiveness, but we also have to work together to oppose all abuse of human rights. Thank you very much for asking me to speak.